Have you ever wondered who was responsible for bringing the banjo to the forefront of Irish music? Who took a loud, brassy jazz instrument and turned it into the soulful pulse of Irish trad? While the banjo had made its way into Irish-American circles, it wasn't until Barney McKenna picked it up and tuned it to match the fiddle that it truly found its place in Ireland's music DNA. He transformed the instrument and inspired thousands across his lifetime, myself included.
There's nobody can knock the sound out of this tenor banjo like Barney McKenna can.
Barney McKenna was born on December 16, 1939 in the Dublin suburb of Donnycarney into a family steeped in Ulster music tradition. His father, a fiddle player, and mother, a singer, nurtured a household where music was part of everyday life. Music was in his blood from the very beginning, and although the mandolin was his first love, it was a tenor banjo that ended up in his hands. Why? Simply because he couldn't afford anything else. For myself, my granda gave me a 5-string banjo a long time ago, and I started playing it in the trad ensemble in college. It was quite hard to hit those high Bs, and I had never played a string instrument before, except for playing Wonderwall and guitar now and then. But I loved the banjo, and I wanted to buy a 4-string tenor banjo myself, but I just couldn't afford it either. So I bought a relatively cheap mandolin, which has lasted me thereabouts 10 years, though I'm still nowhere near as good as Barney. Where I couldn't afford a banjo, and back then Barney couldn't afford a mandolin, that twist of fate would shape the sound of Irish folk music forever. The banjo wasn't widely used in traditional Irish music at the time. It was considered more of a jazz or minstrel show instrument, but Barney's raw talent and inventive spirit would change that perception for good. Rejected from the Irish #1 army band due to poor eyesight, young Barney took whatever work he could get: glassblower, kitchen porter, and even a tough stint as a navvy, digging trenches and laying concrete. But the music never left him. In 1962, fate stepped in again, this time in the form of a gravelly voiced singer named Ronnie Drew. Ronnie, known for his deep, unique voice and love of Irish folk, invited Barney to join a new group that was beginning to gather attention for its raucous, authentic sound. Their earliest gigs were at O'Donoghue's pub on Merrion Row, a modest venue that would become the birthplace of a revolution in Irish music. They were soon joined by Luke Kelly, a powerful balladeer from Dublin's north side, and Kieran Burke, a multilingual singer and tin whistle player. The four of them initially called themselves the Ronnie Drew Ballad Group, but the name didn't stick. Luke was reading a book by James Joyce called Dubliners, and it was from that they got the inspiration for their name, the Dubliners. The group quickly developed a devoted following. Their combination of raw musical talent, traditional Irish ballads, and no-nonsense charm gave them a gritty edge that set them apart. In a country still finding its post-independence cultural voice, the Dubliners spoke directly to the soul of the people. So getting back to Banjo Barney, and something that I personally really respect him for doing. At the time, the tenor banjo was typically tuned to CGDA, a legacy of its strong ties to American jazz and vaudeville music. This tuning suited rapid chord changes and syncopated melodies, but it didn't really mesh with the modal scales and melodic ornamentation of traditional Irish music. Barney did something revolutionary and very simple. He tuned the banjo down to GDAE, an octave below the fiddle. This was a game changer. For one, it aligned the banjo's tuning with the fiddle, mandolin, and tin whistle, which made it much easier for musicians to learn and share tunes across instruments without having to transpose in some way. More importantly, it allowed Barney to mimic the flowing, melodic style of Irish fiddle playing. This alternate tuning also gave the banjo a darker, more resonant tone, adding weight and presence to session music. It allowed for better compatibility in D and G major, and these two are two of the most common keys in traditional Irish music. What seemed like a small tweak, and it was, at the time, it ended up shaping the entire future of Irish banjo playing. According to Mick Maloney, Barney was single-handedly responsible for making GDAE tuning the standard for Irish banjo players. His innovation didn't just offer technical convenience, it set a new benchmark. As more and more players sought to match the tonal blend of traditional sessions, GDAE became the go-to. From that point on, if you were playing reels on a banjo, odds were you were doing it Barney's way, chasing that same earthy resonance and seamless compatibility that he had pioneered. Barney's style was wild, lyrical, and unmistakably his own, whether tearing through blazing solos like the Maid Behind the Bar, or singing sea shanties like South Australia.
Holloway now, oh, you're rolling things to me. Holloway, Holloway, and you'll hear me sing. I'm bound for South Australia.
He had a magnetism that pulled the crowd into music. He didn't just play, he performed heart and soul. The audience loved him, and he fed off that energy, often smiling or throwing a wink mid-tune. Cries of "Come on, Barney" were part of the ritual, shouted with a mix of reverence and rowdy encouragement. He'd often take centre stage with John Sheehan and Eamon Campbell for what they jokingly called an Irish duet, which, as Barney never failed to point out, always included 3 people.
Thank you. Paddy's gone off now to put on the kettle, to make some tea and coffee. Saying that there's a lot of people here, apart from the local people, good few people from different parts of the continent. So if I start to talk too fast for them, they'll have to listen to me quicker. That's it. Right, we play a little solo for you now on the tenor banjo, but it's Irish because there's 2 of us going to play the solo. Eamon is going to accompany me here. Right.
These kinds of moments were pure Barney. He had a knack for storytelling, long, winding, half-true anecdotes that came to be known as Barneyisms. One of the most famous happened when he was in a London taxi rushing to a gig at the Albert Hall, but he forgot the name. He forgot the name of the venue, but without missing a beat, he told the driver, "Will you take me to the big roundy room?" And he even made it there as well, so the taxi driver knew where to go. For a deeper dive into these hilarious escapades, I'd highly recommend reading this book. Fellow Dubliner Jim McCann compiled all the Barneyisms into a book called An Obstacle Confusion, The Wonderful World of Barney McKenna. It's a gem if you want to have a good laugh or just see the world through Barney's delightfully offbeat lens. When Barney wasn't playing music, chances were high he was out on the Irish Sea, rod in hand, soaking up the rhythm of the tides. Fishing wasn't just a hobby for him, it was his refuge. Boats, buoys, weathered nets, and conversations with old fishermen gave him the same kind of joy and perspective that music did. He loved the sea's unpredictability, its honesty. It grounded him. His affection for the ocean found its way into many of his performances. Whether he was singing a seafarer's lament or a rollicking shanty, you could hear it. The sway of the waves, the bite of salt in the air, the longing of a man who felt most himself where the sea meets the sky. Even in interviews, he often talked about the sea with a kind of wistful reverence. It wasn't just a backdrop to his life, it was part of his soul. In 2006, Barney suffered a mild stroke, losing vision in one eye and struggling with mobility, but he kept playing. By then, he was already part of the fabric of Irish culture. Andy Irvine even name-dropped him in the song O'Donoghue's, immortalising those early trad sessions in Dublin. Then, on the 5th of April 2012, Barney passed away peacefully at his kitchen table in Howth, having a quiet cup of tea and a chat with his friend Michael Howard. He seemed to nod off mid-conversation, as gentle and unassuming in death as he had been in life. He never batted an eyelid. He once joked about that after a deep sleep on tour. And it's kind of fitting in a way. He was 72 years old and the last of the original Dubliners, bar John Sheehan as well. A man who didn't just play the banjo, he redefined it. Barney McKenna brought joy to generations, and through his music, he gave people permission to laugh louder, sing stronger, and feel more deeply. He wasn't polished or pretentious, he was real. He was a real person. His banjo wasn't just an instrument, it was a voice for the Irish spirit and a symbol of the folk revival throughout the years. Did he set out to become a legend? No. He simply played from the heart, and in doing so, he became the father of the banjo in Ireland, transforming it from a fringe curiosity into a cornerstone of traditional music. Ask any trad musician out there and they'll tell you, Barney's fingerprints are all over trad music. But more than that, He was a character people loved, a warm presence with a twinkle in his eye, and a story always on the tip of his tongue. Whether you knew him personally or just saw him on stage, you felt like you knew the man. He was admired not just for his talent, but for his humility, his humour, and his huge, generous heart. Barney McKenna won't be forgotten, because people don't forget joy. They don't forget the ones who made them feel alive. Thanks a million for watching. If you enjoyed this video, and you'd like to hear some more stories like Barney's, stories that shaped Irish music as we know it, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well, and share it with somebody who loves trad music just as much as you do. Also, if you're looking for some Irish music merch, check out the online shop. I have a link down in the description there. We still have a 10% discount running for the next few weeks on all products, so grab something while it lasts and help support future videos like this. Every purchase, everything goes back into the channel so I can keep making videos like this for you guys. And thanks so much for sticking around. I really appreciate you guys watching the videos, dropping some comments down there. It's really making my day. So thanks again. Slán go fóill. Cheers.